Welcome to round 3 of the study. Is Miriam here? There she is. Had to make sure. All right. So, welcome to the stunning conclusion of Auth, the part 3, the authoring, authorizing. So, you can now allow users to sign up. You can now verify users' identities. Now, we're going to talk about how to use that token that we were issuing to restrict access to something. So as a review, when a user signs up, they're sending over a username and password. We hash the password, store the username and the hash password in a user record. When someone's logging in, they send us a username and password. We find their user, we authenticate with the password that they sent us. Assuming all that checks out, we make a token, send it back to them. So now what we're doing with protecting resources is we are going to, so client is going to send an HTTP request for anything, some resource on our server. So I might be trying to get or post or whatever. I'm trying to get, what's the noun we're going to work with today?
Teacups.
Teacups. So I'm trying to get a list of teas. Now, teas, that's a restricted resource. So what we're going to do is we're going to send an authorization header. Authorization headers have the word bearer, a space, and then the token goes here. Server gets all this. It's going to yank out the token. It's going to decode the token. And it's like, let's say I have a user ID. Maybe I look up the user there. Maybe I have everything I need like just stored in the token already. We can just keep stuff in there. It's basically data. Keep in mind that you're passing it back and forth a lot. So the bigger it gets, the less practical it gets. It slows down your requests. But let's say I just have an ID. Cool. Well, now I can do user.find, get that user back. I could also, from that point, I think Mary and I were talking about this yesterday, go, cool, get me all of that user's favorites. Get me all of that user's whatever. I can just use regular active record shit for that. I can also, I'm trying to edit a post. I can go, cool, is the user ID of that post the same as the user ID of this token? There's more robust ways to handle that, but for us right now, we can just use some ifs and stuff and get along just fine. And that's it. Questions conceptually about what we're doing here? Get the token. We're going to decode. We'll probably get the user and then send back some fucking teas. Ta-da! All right, so let's do this. I want you to new app, new teas app. Implement sign up, verify a user's identity, stop at protecting resources. We'll do that one together. But we'll put about 10 minutes on, see if we remember how to do all this. Go!
Hey, that's every single time. I forget 11 minutes. I mean, I'm glad you did this. Oh, no. I spelled it wrong. Oh, no, that's good. Let me have it. Right, that's fine. Yes. I need a spell check on this.
All right, eyes up here. So if you didn't get all the way there, neat, I'm going to do it from scratch. So you can follow along with me. Anything that isn't working, mira. So let's hop over here. We're going to Rails new -- API T shop. I'm going to cd into T shop. Get all my stuff set up. I'm going to Rails G model user. While I'm at it, I'm going to Rails G controller users. Got it. Then I'm going to go over to the routes. I'm going to make resources users solamente create. Then I'm going to head over to that controller. And then just to make Miriam happy, let's do some strong params. Wire user and permit. Do you guys remember, like, was it like day 3 of the program or like day 2 of mod 2 or something? You're like, can we learn Go?
You know what, guys? Mediocre. I'm just throwing it.
User create user params. All right, and then over in the model has secure password. Why, that reminds me. Gem file. Let's boil up some bcrypt. Bundle install. Kill that server, restart that server. Head over to the migration. T.string username. T.string password digest. And then if I go ahead and run that migration, should be able to do user sign up now. Let's see if that's so. I'm serving on 8500 right now. So if I post to users, this body, I get 200 back. While I'm in here, let's go ahead and fix that. Status created. All right, neat. Otherwise, step 1 is done. Any questions about anything in that part of the process? Good. All right, so for step 2, I need to look up the user, compare passwords, sign the job. So what I want to do is Rails G controller authentication. And then over in routes, if I get a post request to log in, I want to send it to the authentication controller's login method. Now if I go over here, I need to make that login method. So I can get the username from the params. I'll do it the same way that I created it with that top level user key at the top. So I can grab the username, I can grab the password, and then I can say something like @user is user.findby username. I can say if actually I'm gonna do it this way. If not user. This is a style thing, but I kind of like it. Put the negative cases when you're doing these if statements first. So you have all the things, all the sad paths, and then all of the good stuff is down at the bottom. I think it's a sane way to make the code readable. So if not user dot authenticate with password. So if there wasn't a user, I want to, oops, I did this wrong. If not user, then I want to render status unauthorized. Sometimes you'll also render just some JSON with like an error object. But that'll send back a 401, beautiful. So otherwise it worked. So if the password doesn't match, same thing, unauthorized. Elsewise, I want to grab the secret, which is in rails.application.secrets.secret key base. And then I want to sign a jot. So I'm going to bundle add JWT. I'm changing dependencies, so I need to kill my server and restart it. Up at the top here, I'm going to require in JWT. And then I'm going to run token is jwt.encode, and I want it to encode user ID is @user.id. You can put other stuff in there if you want. And then I'm also going to put the secret in there, like that. And that should be my token. So I can render JSON token is token. We should be good to go. So if I signed up with A is A, I can change that users to login. And what did I break?
Secrets, not secret.
Yep. Good, thank you. Some syntaxy issue.
Last time you put a, at the end of base, you did. Sometimes you put like an @ 0 or something.
No, that's for the other, that's for the decoding. Maybe that needs to be wrapped. The syntax doesn't matter right up until it does. Stupid fucking Ruby. Cool, so now I have a token. Here's what I'm gonna do now. I'm gonna take this token, and you should do the same thing. Oops. Where'd my sidebar go? Maybe. Oop. Authorization. Over in authorization, bearer token. Oh, by the way, that was the end of step 2. Any questions about any of that? Same stuff we've been doing. Parker.
What do you get when you use Auth? It's like when you enter the wrong password. Nothing shows up in the thing, but it gives you the status error.
Correct. If you also want to send something, totally reasonable. Render JSON, make a key called error, and just have a description of the error. Keep in mind, though, that you probably don't want to say that the username was incorrect or the password was incorrect, because now you're giving a malicious attacker information about specifically what they got wrong. So want to stay away from that. So in both cases, you traditionally go like, the username and or the password was wrong. Okay. Other questions?
Can you go back to your authentication control?
Yep. Anything else? So if you did this right, you should have that token coming back from a request. I want you to go to this authorization tab, change the type to bearer token. And then you're going to paste that token in there. All this does from an HTTP standpoint sets an authorization header with the word bearer, space, and then your token. We can prove that if we go over to headers and look at the temporary headers. Maybe we need to send it first before we'll add it, but it goes in the headers there. So we're going to send that with any request that needs to be authenticated. It needs to have an authorization header with that token. So Kyle, why wouldn't I just put that in the body? Send that as a key in the body over. Anybody know? Or maybe put it in the query string? So yeah, if I put it in the query string, it's in the URL now. What's wrong with that?
Available.
That's just available. It's available to, like if you send somebody a link, like not only do they go to that URL, they're also logged in as you now. Yikes, don't want to do that. So they don't want to bookmark that. What else? This has to do with encryption. I can encrypt the contents of a body and like encrypt a request basically. I can't encrypt where I'm sending it. somebody needs to know where this request is supposed to go. So like that can't be secret. That's in the URL. Yikes. Router sees that. Your ISP sees that. That's not good. There's another reason why we don't want it to go in the we don't want it to go in the body. Anybody know? So one of the most common types of things you're going to do with authentication is protect getting some kind of sensitive resource. GET requests aren't allowed to have bodies. If you try to send a fetch request with it's a GET with a body, they'll throw an error client side. Nope, not allowed. So I throw it in a header. I can put an authorization header on anything. Cool, so that's gonna do that for me. Now I need to get T's. So what I'm gonna do first, how about I make a little save point. Step 2 works. I'm gonna Rails G model T. I'm gonna Rails G controller T's. I'm gonna go to my routes. I'm gonna make resources for T's. I'll say only index for right now. It's just gonna list T's. And then I'm going to go to the T's controller and make an index for that. I get some T's with t.all, and then I render JSON. T's are T's. I don't need to do anything special with the model. Migration. T.string name. And then I'm going to make some seeds for this. So I'll say t.destroy all, and then t.create. Name is black. Chai. It'll gray. Cool. So there's everything I need there for some T's. So if I do Rails DB migrate, booyah, Rails DB seed, it runs. So if I postman over to get/T's, cool, I get a list of T's. Now, what I want to happen is if my header is good, I want to see this. If my header is bad, I don't want to see that. I want to get a a 401 or a 403 back. So let's see what through the header on. Okay, so there's the header. Authorization, bearer, space, this big fucking thing. So step 1, yank that token out. I'm not aware of like a really clever all-in-wonder way to do this. So we're gonna do it like a little bit more manual than the like .authenticate and has secure password shit did for us. So I'm gonna say that the token is request.headers and then authorization. So that'll give me that bearer space, the token. So I want to split that. on the space and take the second one. So when I split that, that gives me an array. But the first thing is the 0 index is bearer and the 1 index is my actual token. So if I do that, I should get my actual token back. Cool. Now I need to decode this token. So I actually need the secret again. We'll say rails.application.secrets, secret key base. And then my decoded token is going to be jot.decode token secret. And I actually get a couple things back from that. So you need to indicate that you want the 0 index back. And now, with that decoded token, I could do something like at user equals user.find decoded token user ID. And then whatever else. I can say like, if not user, or if like decoding the token didn't work or something like that, then I can reject it. Let's see if I got this to work so far. So I'm going to throw a bybug in here. All right, so I make this request. It should hang. It did not. Yeep. I want to. So let's throw it there. Okay, it hangs. So what's the token? Neat, I got a token. What's the secret? Sweet, I got a secret. So now I want to decode the token. So I'm going to check to see if that's working okay. Move that down a step. It hangs. Beautiful. Decoded token. Cool. Ah, I see what it did. Does anybody see why this next line isn't going to work? Yep, it's a string, not a symbol. So I was looking up user ID, the symbol, but what I actually got decoded was user ID, the string. Easy fix. Cool. So it blows up. Now, I'm hanging. Oops, wanted to put that there. All right, it all worked. That's heartening. Fire off this request. It hangs. All right, do I have my user? By Jove, there's my user. So let's say I've got all the pieces now. Got the token. I've decoded it. I've gotten the user. Let's say only I can say like if at user, do that JavaScript style. If user, then do all this. Otherwise, render JSON error must be logged in with a status of unauthorized. Cool. I might need to do some of this in there also. We'll see. So this should work. Cool, I get the T's back. If I, just turn that off, nope. If I take out my thing, cool. So, saying undefined method split for nothing. So this needs to be something like if not request.headers authorization, then I can just kind of early terminate. If you didn't even try, I know that's not going to work. So I can take that. And put all the rest of this in there. And awesome. Let's see how far that goes. Cool. I get an error. Must be logged in. I put the token back in. There she blows. I have successfully protected a resource. Other things that I could have done there. I could get user.tease if I establish a relationship there. I can do whatever. I have the user and I can just use whatever logic I want, sort of make that all happen. That's Auth. What questions do you have?
Why do you do for the decoded token? Why is it at the index 0?
Because it brings back a couple of things. Like if I do index of 1, it gives me the like the headers, so which is the timestamp of when the token was issued, when it expires, like variety of things like that. If I just want the payload of it, that's index 0. What else? One other thing I want to show you. So this application grows. All of this stuff, I'd have to repeat that logic like every time I want to protect something. That doesn't feel like how we program. So let's use a little bit of our Ruby knowledge. This tease controller, what is this first line saying? Inherits from the application controller. What does it mean to inherit from another class? All of its traits. So if I make a method in application controller, tease controller has it also. Interesting. Application controller, you said. All right. So what if I had something that was like def authenticate? And what if I like just kind of took all of this and pasted it in? Interesting. So now I could get rid of all of that. I actually don't even need any of this stuff anymore. I could put that like if not user render the login error thing here too. If not user and render that. Otherwise, just call it good. Okay, so now I have all of the authentication logic in one place. So if I call this method and everything works out, I'm going to have an @user property available. This is an instance variable. Remember you guys were asking me about that, why I did that instead of leaving the @off and just doing a local variable? This is why. So now I have an @user available if the login works. If it doesn't work, renders an error. So I could do something like, just leave all this shit off. Just like I had it before, actually. And do something like authenticate, like that. Or there's even like a specific way to do that in Rails. We say before action, authenticate only index. So then whatever actions that I want to authenticate, I can just do that. And since everything inherits from application controller, the entire app has that authenticate method available. Let's say I wanted to list everything, but anybody can do that, but nobody except logged in people can post. All right, only create. And now anybody can see this, but nobody else can create. Cool. Yeah, Miriam.
So if I use that method like on my game,
Mhm.
if I did like an authenticate only on index, that means that they wouldn't even see the whole game container until they're logged in.
Correct.
So would they just see a blank white page?
It's whatever you told them to. So, like, because this is just the API. All it is restricting data. What users do and don't see, that's your client. But you can test to see if you got something in the 400 series back in your status. You could do something with this error. But if the user isn't logged in, they get back this. Yeah.
On the same token, is it possible to have them, is there a method that you could only show where they can see like the game or whatever you're trying to do, but they're not able to do anything to it, like play the game?
Yeah, so keep in mind, all of this, everything we've done, it's just the back end. What data are you allowed to read or write? As far as like what the consequences of any of those kinds of things are, those are client problems. So, can I see the game but not play it? All right. What do I need to be able to see the game? Well, maybe I need some data, or maybe I just need some flag to come back, thumbs up. All right, so I get that back from my API, client moves on. Then I go, well, to play the game, what does playing the game mean? Well, it means I create a new game instance on the back end. Okay, well, I can restrict that to somebody who's logged in. And if I get a 401 back, it goes, sorry, you're not logged in. So I'm going to redirect you to the login page or something. All that stuff's client side. Cool. Let's see if my move stuff around. Let's see if it still works. So I've got the token in there. Still works. I take the token out. Must be logged in. That's clean as a whistle. And all my auth logic's in one place. All this stuff's over here. Also, let's say I wanted to, just to prove that I have that user thing available. What if I send back the user that I found? So nothing there. I put the token in. There's the tease. That's the user. So just have that instance variable available because it came from the application controller. Because that got called before this. Cool. That's Auth. That's all 3 steps. Questions? Mm-hmm.
So what it's saying is before you do the authenticate, you can only see the index.
No. Who else can decode what this is saying? Carl.
Same says do authentication on the following things, only on the following actions.
So actions, that's all the methods in a controller. Those are called actions. This is before every action, call the method called authenticate. Actually, psych, only do it on this one. That works the same way that like routing does. If I look at the routes, I can say I want all 7 users routes. Psych, only that one. There's also an accept, I think, if you want to do all of them except something else.
Blacklist instead of blacklist.
Correct. Other questions? You're now Auth Masters! Masters! Master of Auth, I'm pulling your strings! All right, thank you.